Welcome. It's just past 2 p.m. here in Europe. My name is Wiebke Hansen, and we're talking today about mothers and daughters and what you yourself can do to support the rise of the feminine. Just a brief housekeeping moment. I am recording this meeting. We're going to do some possibly also answer personal questions later on. If you're not comfortable with me registering it, I can, following my talk, I can stop the recording, so you will then have a more private moment with the people on this call. We're not that many yet, but who knows, maybe some people join us. I'm registering the call to then later send it out to all registered applicants, and my hello to all those who tried to join in on Wednesday. I had a first call already planned for Wednesday, and then COVID happened. It's uncertain times. You never know whether you'll be well enough. So just the message is so important to me personally that I thought I hop online, I share with you what I wanted to share, and ask for your patience if I'm not as clear as I usually am, just because the COVID fog is in my brain. And why am I doing this? Because really I'm deeply convinced that the rise of the feminine is not some external stuff. It's not something that's happening on the outside. It's not for men to make place. It's not some structure that needs to shift. Yes, that needs to happen as well. But the key thing for the feminine to rise is if it rises within each single one of us. So what can I do? What can you do to support that, to keep it rising, to help it to rise? And this is with personal stories, obviously. We each are it. We each are an expression of the feminine, really. And what more is where more is it strongly present than between a mother and her daughters? And that's the topic really of today's call, mothers and daughters. You may have been with me last year. I talked about the mother line, and I brought you a picture that I sent in the invite. Let's see whether I can share this. See, mom is with you always, so to speak. She stands right behind you. When you put in the dishwasher, when you stand on stage with a mic, she is behind you, or maybe right in front of you, and you don't know it. Mothers do transmit empowerment, or they may also transmit hindrance without wanting it, without knowing it, but that just happens. And in order to rise, we need to become conscious and become aware of all those little tripfalls that possibly our mothers handed to us. I find this visual a bit enlightening, because you stand there, you have your boss, and you do your job in a good way. Maybe you moved out decades ago, and who's mom? It's like, I'm living my life, and she doesn't count anymore because I'm an independent woman. I stand in my own power. I'm not thinking about whatever she may or may not have transmitted. Mothers may transmit empowerment or not. And yes, if you look at this picture, you see this. You see, you are on stage with a mic in the hand, and then there she is right behind you, reaching, figuratively speaking, into your field and either supporting you or pulling you down. Just as my own example, my own mother gave me some great empowerment. She was a manager in the 60s, ran a shop, and gave me the perfect example of being successfully in running her family, looking after us children, and having a successful career. She ran the shop. So the one big gift was this image of a woman's life that can be household and career. today that doesn't seem to be so new, but think 60 years back. In the 60s, that was not usual. I was one of the first lucky ones who had a mother who had a career and who was happy doing it. That's the other big gift my mom, and I have to say both parents gave me. They really, really enjoyed what they did. It was their expression of their life was in the job. So it was not just, I have to do this and I have to make ends meet and I have to, but I love to do this. And having a good professional career is it's a satisfying life. So that is definitely a gift she handed on to me that I'm very even conscious of. And then there are the other things that are not so nice, like this. How can I explain that? Very often you have unconscious muddle that is in your family system. You don't even know it's there. It's just you're tripping over it. Have you ever come across it, that it's as if you always run into the same type of boss or the same type of colleague, that nuisance colleague that is always there that you don't seem to be able to talk to? Well, maybe it's not the colleague or the boss. Maybe it is coming from your family system. Your family of origin is a system, so to speak. This is where you learned how to interact with peers and with parents. And now when you enter the workplace, unconsciously, you look for a situation that feels familiar, that feels like family felt. Now we think we're all professional and that family doesn't count anymore. It does. The subconscious will have you end up in a similar situation to what you were used to at home. And unless you make the unconscious conscious and you heal it, you will again and again come across similar situations. Now, what I brought you today, last time we actually did a drum journey. I can't do that today. I cannot hold space for you in the COVID state I'm in today. So I brought you another little tool on how to make the unconscious family stumbling blocks visible, to show to you how it could work. And to do that, I interrupt now the sharing of this nice little picture, and I will share my second camera. You can see nothing now. This is a blank sheet of paper, my hand. And what I love to do to better understand what is happening in a situation is I throw pebbles at it. What does that mean, throwing pebbles at it? Throwing pebbles at it means I use pebbles as representatives to look at a situation kind of from a bird's eye view. So if I look at myself, so here's me, myself, the big pebble, that's me. In my family situation, I have my mother, who's here. I do have, where's she? I do have a sister, she's here. And my dad, but dad is already moved on, so I move him really to the outskirts. He's not in this work right now, he's just in the background. And I have two wonderful daughters. They are here as well. So if we talk feminine lineage, you have mom, daughter, granddaughters. Now, what I noticed is that there is some kind of a density. There's a density between mom and me, something that is not quite mine. It comes from mom and it is right on top of me. A similar density I observe with mom and with my sister. It's like what I said before, it's the family unconscious, an aspect of it. It's not, surely not everything, but it's an aspect of it. And yes, you guessed it, my kids as well. It's these habits. The way I treat my children is the way mom treated me. So there are, with all the love and with all the care and with all the attention, still there are things I handed on that I'm not proud of. So in this visual representation, Pebble Talk, the Pebbles Talk, you see there is some kind of, something is kind of on top of all of us, and it's weighting everything down. And it's like I became aware there is something that is not mine, it is not good, and it blocks me in my movement, in my freedom. How did I become aware of it? I work with my coach. She's a shamanic astrologer. She holds a very safe and sacred space, and she notices things that I'm kind of not always notice myself. And she gave me some help, kind of stood by my side. And with her help now, I was able to move the density back to where it belongs. It isn't my, excuse me, it is not mine, it is Mom's. So I'm moving it back to her so that I become free. Can you feel the difference? Just looking at this now, the part is now, something has started to move. It's still not in balance. I'm moving the coach out again now because she has done her job. She just left me her support. I moved the density back to where it originated. And now I'm aware that I'm doing this, I'm free, and I can see and feel something still off. What about my daughters? Now there are shamanic tools like recapitulation and sweeping breath with which I can consciously retrieve my energy from my daughter's field, which is not hers to carry because it is mine. And I can hand back to her all that energy that is hers, that doesn't belong to me. So there's kind of a balancing going on. Or transmute or release this density because now I'm aware of it. I'm doing the same thing with my other daughter. Shamanic recapitulation of breathing the stuff that is mine back into me, and the stuff that is hers returns rightfully to her place and adds to her empowerment. Now take a look a moment at the pebbles now. With the help of a coach who held a clear space and had a clear view, I managed to release, and I can also take it out. I released the density that is not mine. I became aware of the density that I had already passed on to my daughters, and with sweeping breath, I could retrieve mine and liberate them. So look at how does this pebble representation look now? Can you notice the difference? What I see really is that me and my daughters, we are kind of clear now. We are like in a new, clearer field, whereas my mother and my sister, they are still in their kind of in the old family ways, like we used to be, with this kind of shield on top, with a weight that keeps everybody weighted down. And one may say now, why don't you also remove those? Well, that is really the job of my sister and my mother. I can do my healing, and I can do my part in my children's healing, where I'm not healing them, but I just, I released that part of me that got invaded in their field. So I did my part of the family tree, so to speak, and for the rest, that is the job of Mom and the job of my sister, really. And what I really love about the pebbles is that it makes it visible. It makes it visible, and it makes you see it and understand it on a level that words alone cannot express. Now, Marianne, you're the only one on the call. So I was wondering, do you have any questions about something that's of interest to you? Any comments? Hi. And if you're rather not talk, that's fine as well. Then we're going to have a brief call. You're still on mute.
Yeah, I'm driving at the moment, so it's a little difficult. But
Okay.
it's. I was looking forward to the clearance, to understand more the clearance of these lines, all this being muddled up. There is so much with it, and how can one do that on one's own?
Yeah. Let me tune in. So this one thing that I was talking about is the shamanic recapitulation. It's a breathing technique. I can tell you now that it exists. I couldn't teach it right now. The beauty of the sweeping breath is you shamanically connect to the person you're going to work with. So, for example, your mother, or in my case, my children. And there's a way of breathing in and out where I breathe in any filaments of light that stand with my children that are mine. And I breathe out any filaments of light that are entangled in my system that are of the kids. So it's a breathing technique, really takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour at one go, but then you repeat it until you feel free. And when you do it, but what happens to me is that I do see, it's like I see the situations where the energetic entanglement happened, and I can just feel it, how it disentangles. Mm. So that is one tool, and for the rest, I'd need a more specific question. I'd need a more specific example. So I shared this one because it shows the pebbles, right? And that is something I do with my clients, and it's something that moves the energy in a very subtle way out of the way, and then life starts to flow differently. It's not an immediate resolution. It's not that you do the pebbles today and tomorrow your life is perfect. But I had this client who wanted to move back home from abroad with a kid, and there was a lawsuit, and it wouldn't work out. We did the pebbles, and then half a year later she could move home. So it puts the energy in a better place. Let's put it like that. That's what the pebbles do.